Alright, welcome guys. This little video is going to be a request from one of my friends. He basically asked me how I could convert these presets from the Polygon military pack and make it into like a weapon customizer so you can change it out to whatever he wants. So that's kind of what we're gonna do in this tutorial. Gonna try to like kind of tell you guys how it's gonna go, but it's pretty easy, self-explanatory really. We're going to start with making a blueprint class, which is going to be our weapon actor. So we're going to say BP weapon. I'm just going to say weapon customizer. And I'm going to call it base. This is going to be the base class for both of the weapons. And we can save that. So if we open it up, what we're going to do first is actually add the body from it. Because if I show you guys in a new content browser, if you go to the Polygon military and go into the weapons and then select one of the presets, one of the weapon A or weapon B basically, what you'll see is first you have a body, then you have the iron sights, then you have magazines, you have stocks, you have railings, and all of that good stuff, barrels. So we're going to be adding these as sockets onto the weapon. That way it's easier to switch them around and do stuff with that. So how are we going to do that? So first select this one. We're going to be adding it as the body. So actually not that. Just click on the skeleton mesh and set it as the body. And now we're going to be adding the sockets to it. So I'm going to click on this. And now you have the default body. I already have a socket here. Let me delete that. Okay. What you're going to do, right click. You're going to add a socket. I'm just going to be calling it socket. I guess buttstock is fine. And then we are going to add the stock to it. Just going to copy the name real quick. Then you can say add preview asset. It's going to show the asset right here so you can adjust the socket properly. And just click on that. And what I usually like to do to make it a little bit easier so you don't like go to the left or to the right is actually set it to facing sideways and late. Now you actually have a better view of how the gun looks. So we know it has to turn 90, has to go up like this a little bit. And if you want to see like perfectly, you can go into wireframe. You can actually make it so that it lines up a lot better, like so. I think that's pretty good for me. And yeah, we're just going to be doing that for basically every single weapon that we have, for every single attachment that we have. So give me a second and I will be right back. Set up for the weapon itself. Now, as you may notice, there are no iron sights on this. And the reason why is because I'm actually going to be setting them up on the rail itself. That way we can change that without actually having all these sockets on the body, which makes it a lot easier if you want to put this rail, for example, with a different configuration. It will still look good because it's connected to the rail instead of everything else. So how are we going to do that? If you click on, let's say I use this one, so let's just do this one. Okay. And what we're going to do is, this is a pretty big rail for this gun. So it's going to have one in the front, one in the back, right? This is the front. So what we're going to do is, once again, socket manager, we're going to say socket, and we're going to say iron sights front. And then we are just going to be wait, where is it again? Oh, advanced, and then you can say WB iron sights front. Okay, now we're just gonna be moving that to the front like this, and one more because this is the biggest rail. So socket iron sights back or rear or whatever you want to call it, WPA iron sights, and we're gonna say post, because the post is, oh no, sorry, iron sight rear, okay, rear, and we're just gonna be moving that one back as well. Something like that should be fine. Now the good thing is, if we go in here, we can actually sort of already assemble the weapon. I'm just gonna move this content browser onto the side so it's a little bit easier for me to add everything. So we are going to start with, let's say we first add the grip. So let's say grip, and try to name them nicely because you're basically gonna be making childs of this gun. So it's better if it's already named nicely. We'll make it a lot easier for you. Let's say we add not the one that we first had for the handguard, but let's say we add the larger version, and now you can just say add attach the socket and say handguard, and now it is nicely in its place. Same with the grip, I kind of forgot, so socket grip, there you go. Now click on the body again. We are going to be adding the stock for the weapon, sorry, the stock for the weapon. Okay, we're going to be adding it to the buttstock. Next up is the magazine. I always make the magazine separate in a separate actor, but for now I'm just going to be attaching it to here. So magazine, there you go. Then we have the trigger. We're just going to say trigger and attach that there. There you go. Just going to quickly set this up. And the last thing is the rail. So if we add the rail to it, as you can see, just say rail, attach this to the rail like so. And it will, with Polygon Military, it will never line up 100%, but try to make it as good as you can, I guess. Think that this looks okay. It could go down a little bit more, I guess. Let's see if I can actually quickly just move this one down ever so slightly so it lines up with the other ones. Yeah, as you can see, it will never line up 100%, but that's kind of the thing with Cindy. One more thing is adding the barrel. So one more socket, one more static mesh, please say barrel. We attach that to the barrels like so. Okay, and what you can do now is you can click on this rail and you can actually say add, and you can add the backside, the iron sight, whatever you want. So I'm gonna set it into the back, and because this handguard is bigger than this one, the best thing what you can do then is, if it has this socket, like this rail is too small, right? So you can either choose a bigger rail, which is this one, but it does not have the socket, or, well, what I always would recommend as well is just moving this rail so it lines up with the front of the handguard, like so. That way it always lines up a little bit nicer. Like I said, it's never 100%. You really have to play around with it quite a bit to get it to work, because this one is a pretty big one, obviously. But you can always go in here and adjust it here as well. So let's say just do that, and I make it the same height. Whatever, right? This one doesn't have the socket yet, but you could put the same sockets on it. So if I click on here and I go back to the smaller rail, basically copy the names, socket manager, and we just say add socket for the front, add socket for the back. Okay, and we say for the back, let's just do this guy. We can actually move it up a little bit and move it to the right, like so. And if you want to have the same, perfectly same heights, what you can do is actually copy this name, but delete it, and actually duplicate this one. That will mean that the height is always perfectly the same, so the sides will line up better, like perfectly. And now you can just move this one with the green arrow to the front, like so. And if we now go in game, in the weapon actor, as you can see, the iron side is perfectly on it. And if we add the front side to it, so let's say rail, we're adding the front side to it, we can now attach it to the front. Make sure that these are zeroed out, like so. And there you go. Now you basically have a, well, like a basic M4, right? With the sides already attached to it. But let's say you want to add a scope to this, right? You want to add a scope to the weapon, which we also have, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Okay. So let's say you want to add a scope to this rail. I would suggest always putting like scope attachments and stuff on the rail. That way you only have to add it one static mesh at a time. So let's say you want to have it, but you don't want to have it in this position because it's too far back. Well, pretty simple. You just make a new socket, and we're going to call this scope socket. Let's just say socket scope for now. And we're going to be attaching one of the, let's say the little red dot on it, like so. And let's say we want to put it somewhere right there. Let's check that out. If we add the scope to this, so say scope, but make it like a default one, you know. Just put that and zero it out. Now you can see how that will look. And I think that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more to the back, but pretty good in general. There you go. So, what about attachments on the handguard, right? Same principle, basically. Just go into the handguard itself. And this will require a lot of sockets being made, but it will save you a lot of time in the long run. So, let's say you want to make one. Just say socket. And for this, I always use the same position. That way you don't have to make animations constantly. So what I would say is just say socket ATT for attachment and say B for bottom. So attachment on the bottom. And let's add a grip. If we now look down here, we can actually attach this grip. So once again, go into the front view. And we can say, okay, move this one down like so. So it lines up with this roughly, I guess. And then move it more to the front. I would say something like this. But you can basically put this whatever you want, right? And now if we go into the handguard, so click on the handguard. And we're going to add the grip to it. Let's call it grip, or let's call it like ATT grip bottom for now. And we can just attach it, and there you go. Now it is attached to the bottom. And the good thing about it is you can basically switch this out for whatever you want now. So let's say I want another grip, just put the mesh in there. Let's say I want to have a flashlight, put the flashlight, and you might need to adjust some sockets for like flashlights and stuff because they just have different, its pivot point is right here and not here. Maybe I'll quickly show you guys how to do that. It might be easier for you guys. Okay, so let's quickly do that as well. Might be a long video, I don't know, I'm just recording it. So if you go and click on the mesh and you click on export, and I'm quickly going to export it on my desktop, like so. And then we open up Blender. Give it a second to load up. Take a drink. Okay, now Blender's loaded up. We can just delete everything in the scene. And now how to change the pivot point of a mesh to work better for you is, this is the default collision. You can just delete that. That's the one that Cinti provides you, but we're not going to be like deleting and re-importing it, so we can just keep it like this. And if you press 3 on your keyboard, you will go into the side view, and this is your pivot point. Okay. Now to make it so it's better for us, we're actually going to move the mesh down to, let's say, something roughly like this, I suppose. We could actually go a little bit lower. There you go. Something like that. What you can then do is say object, apply all transforms, or just say location, sorry. only the location, because the scale is already properly set up. What you can then do is just select it, export. I'm gonna be putting it in the same position, but you can put it wherever you want. And it is a static mesh, so you can say only mesh and say selected objects. Everything else can pretty much stay default because we don't have a skeletal mesh. Click on that. And then we are going to go back into Unreal Engine, like so. Okay. Now we're going to open this flashlight mesh. Okay. And we're just going to be saying on the top here, re-import base mesh, select the one that you have saved, and it's going to ask you to fix a material, but it's fine. And there you go. Now it's moved downwards a little bit. And if you now look at your weapon, it actually lines up pretty good now, because the pivot point is actually fixed now. It was way too much down. Okay, so what you can do now is basically do that for your handguard on every single side and on the top, if that's what you want. I'm quickly gonna be putting them on 3 sides and not on the top, but you can do that if you want. So give me 1 second. And there you go. I just basically called them left and right. Makes it a lot easier. And now we can actually put attachments on this, which I'm going to do just for fun. I can show you how to adjust them afterwards. So let's say on the left side, we have a flashlight, but let's put this one on the left side. Okay, so we have a flashlight on the left. Let's put a grip at the bottom. So I'm just gonna be doing this and just say ATT grip. Just calling that because this one is actually the left one now. This one is the bottom. Or we can actually say, instead of saying ATT grip, because it's not technically a grip, it's just an attachment slot, just quickly going to be renaming them to just ATT for attachment. Okay. And now this one at the bottom, just going to say socket at the bottom, like so. And let's say on the right, what do we want to have on the right? What do we want on the right side, which could be fun? Do we have something fun? Let's say we put a laser sight for now on it. Okay, so just once again, ATT on the right side this time. And let's just add this to the right. And this one is actually not correct because, well, right here it is correct, but this laser sight itself is once again isn't set up correctly. Because if we add it, for example, here, as you can see, it goes to that side because it is in the wrong rotation. It should be facing, the site itself should be facing that way, basically. So we're just going to be using something else. Once again, you can just go into Blender, change the rotation, export it out again, and it should be fine. But for the sake of the tutorial, we're just going to be putting a, let's say another grip on it. Let's say a horizontal grip, whatever. Okay, so now you basically have your weapon with all the sockets already set on it. If we now drag it into the, let's say we drag it into the level. There you go. Now it is set up with all of the sockets on the correct items in order to properly adjust them later. Now, how are we going to adjust? Let's say we start with something simple, right? Let's say I want to change the magazine or whatever. Let's just start with the weapon itself. Let's say I want to change the stock, right? Let's say I want to have different stocks. I want to be able to choose them between whatever I want. So you can change between that one. This one doesn't really work once again because the location is off. So let me quickly fix that in Blender so it is fixed. Okay, so I just quickly went into Blender, fixed the location issue with this one. And you have 3 different stocks for this specific weapon, right? So what you can do, what I'm going to do, is actually start with making let's make a folder, call it enumerations. And we are going to be adding an enum, so go to blueprint, enum, en, and I'm going to be calling it WAP a stock, or but stock, basically. This might be a better way. But stock, okay? And let's go on here. And what we want to do is basically, what I'm going to do is, for this weapon, I'm going to be giving the player the ability to have no stock on it, okay? You see that in games like Call of Duty and stuff, so what I'm going to do is, we have 3 different stocks, basically, but I'm going to be adding a 4th one, okay? The first one is going to be none, no stock whatsoever. The second one is going to be our first stock, and I'm just copying the names. You can call it whatever you want, but I'm just going to be calling it this. The names that it has itself. Okay. And now do you have this, basically, so none, stock 1, stock 2, and stock 3. Now, what we're going to do is actually go in here and make a new variable. And the first variable we are going to do is actually be calling it this name. So I'm just going to go here. I'm just going to be copying the name, or I can just say but stock. Okay, just going to be calling it that. And of type is going to be the enumeration we just made. Okay, so now we can choose between none, stock 1, stock 2, and stock 3. Okay, now here comes the whole meat and bone of this system, which I really like about it because I use it all the time. In order to make sure that we can change this, what we're going to do is make a new variable of this type, okay? And we're going to be calling it but stock, and I'm going to be doing a space, and I'm going to put behind it a map. And a map is actually what we're going to be using. So instead of the single type, we're going to be making it into a map. And the type of map that we want to make is actually a static mesh. So here's static mesh, click on that and save. And now we actually can put in the meshes that we want. So we're going to be starting with stock 3, and I'm just going to be dragging them in. So stock 2 and stock 1, and last one is none, basically just meaning clear it, like no stock whatsoever. Now, how are we going to be changing this is actually by going into the construction script. So you can just set it up in the beginning, like without playing the game. What I'm going to do is actually drag out of this one, and I'm going to be saying, drag this one to the world, that's fine. Grab your map as well. And what I'm going to do is say find. We're going to find this one we just selected. And what you can do is, this one is never going to return something that doesn't exist because you manually put them in. So from here, what I can say is going to my stock, drag my stock out, and I'm going to say set static mesh. Okay. Now that you have the static mesh, you can just drag this one in here, and I am just going to be putting it like so, cleaned up a little bit, and compile and save. Now the beauty of this thing is, if I put this, for example, into a category, and I'm going to say weapon customizer, okay, I can save this, and I can also do it for this map. I'm going to be putting it into a category of do not edit. So we know we don't have to touch those. And now if I click on the weapon customizer base, the good thing about it is this one will come on top. And now if you look at stock, I can basically choose between which one I want. So I can easily change them around for different types of weapons to create different models, basically. Okay. So we can also, I'll do it a couple more times just so you guys really get this down. So let's say for the next one we want to change the grip. Say we want to change the grip. What we do is we go back here, we create another enumeration. And I'm just going to be copying this because we're just changing the last word basically. And I'm going to be calling it the grip. And now we open it up. And we don't need none here because you will always need to have a grip, you know? So I can delete that. And we can go and grab our grips. So grip 1, grip 2, and grip 3, like so. Save that. And now we can go back into this customizer. And we can basically duplicate these variables so they are in the correct category. So this one is going to be grip. It doesn't really want to do grip because it already exists. Yeah. So let's just call this en grip. And we'll change this one to en as well. But you can call it whatever you want. And I'm just going to be calling it the type of en grip. Okay. Now we're compiling this and we're actually going to be duplicating this one as well. And we're going to be calling it the grip map. And if you go up top here, what you can do is change this to the grip, and this can stay static mesh. Now we can just remove everything in this by clicking the trash can and start setting this one up. So first one is grip 3. Second one is grip 2. And the last one is grip 1. Okay. And now we can go into the construction script, grab our grip, copy this static mesh, set static mesh, copy this and just paste that here as well. And I'm just going to be saying grab our grip map, and we might need to refresh this for it to work. What you can do is just disconnect these, refresh, add that, delete this guy, and send this guy in here, like so. And now we've already set this one up as well. So if I go here, you have your grip options. I can say grip 2, grip 3, and you can basically toggle between those. Now let's get a little bit more advanced. What if you don't want to have 3 options, 3 attachments on this, but only 1 or 2? The way to do that actually is by going into, what you can do is actually check a couple of things. So we're going to be dragging all 3 of these out, and basically it's going to result in a set static mesh. Okay. Now, what if you don't want to have, let's say I don't want to have this vertical or this horizontal, but I do want to have these 2. Okay. The easy way to do that is actually with just simple branches. So you make a branch by holding B and left clicking. And let's say for this one, we want to say use left attachment. Do we want to have it on the left? If it is, we want to set the static mesh to whatever we want to input here. Okay. Just whatever we want to input, we can put that here. Now, the way you would do that is probably by just setting it up from a general list of attachments that you have. So for example, like the flashlight, the grips, whatever. And I'm quickly going to be making one of those. So I'm just going to be duplicating this, and I'm just going to say, not weapon A, but en. And we're just going to be calling this attachments. Okay. Click on this, and we can basically set the attachments we want. So I'm just going to keep this short. So we have we'll do one flashlight, we'll do one grip, and we will do, well, we'll just do 2 grips and 1 flashlight. Okay. And now for the attachments, what you can basically do is either way, you can either set up attachments separately by basically copying this and say en att-l for like left, and say en attachments. And you can do that for all 3 of them. So duplicate that, attachments on the right, and attachments on the bottom. And I'm quickly going to be adding one more in here, which is none. So we also have an option to not have anything. Okay, so if we want to, let's quickly move that. If we want to use an attachment on the left, what we can say is grab the attachment on the left, and we can actually make one general kind of attachment thing, I think, because they are pretty much the same. But we'll make different maps. It might be easier if you want, for example, some attachments to not be on the bottom. This will be the easiest way. So I'm just gonna say att-l map attachment left map. For the type, it is going to be the attachments. It's actually going to be this variable, which is the en att. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure it. Wait. We're gonna be finding this in this map. But this map. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm so sorry. We only need one map for this. What you can say is att map. Okay. We're gonna be calling this the attachments map with the skeletal meshes. Static meshes, sorry. And we're just going to be adding the ones that we need. So you have 4 grip 4, add that, 4 grip 1, add that, flashlight 1, add that one, and last one is none. Okay. And now for this, we can say en attachment left, find this one in this map once again, and attach that. Okay. And what you want to do if we don't want to use a left attachment, okay, what you want to do is grab this again, and we basically just want to null it, so clear it. And from there, we just add a little return node, add a reroute node, sorry, and we're just going to continue our path. Okay. We can basically copy this now for the other ones. So get rid of this for a second. Actually, get rid of this guy, this guy. Let's do for the right side now. So attachment right, like so. This one, get rid of this and say use right att, use right attachments. Compile, there you go. And now we want to say, we want to find it for the right one instead of the left one. And that's basically all you have to do. So last one, copy this without the reroute because we don't need that. Put that there, get rid of the right ones and that one. Put the back attachment or bottom attachment, sorry, in here, and use this one to do that, and quickly delete this one once again. Oh, I'll quickly name this right. Duplicate this, call this use bottom att, and set that up like so. Okay. So now if we go in here, we actually have it set up so that if we go into the weapon customizer, right now they're all set to flashlight. Okay, so all of them show flashlight. If I now change this, let's say on the left side, I want to have nothing. Clears it. Okay. Let's say at the bottom, I want to have a foregrip. There you go. Let's say on the left side, I also want to have a foregrip. There you go. So now it has set it up. So basically, by changing these variables, you can change your weapon. Like so. And I see that this attachment is not 100% perfect, but it will do. And that's basically how you would set it up. So barrel, same thing. You make an enumeration. From that enumeration, you just put it in here. You make a map out of it. And then you just say, okay, just find this map. So let's just go here. What you can then do is say, find this map, find this variable or this choice, set it up as the static mesh, and then just continue the path until everything is basically done. Now, one more thing I quickly want to show is what if you have, for example, a scope. Okay, let's say you have a scope on this rail, and if the scope is visible, you don't want these two to show up, right? What you can do for that is, first of all, once again, quickly going to make a simple enumeration for scopes. Okay, gonna keep this really simple. Just gonna be adding none, so no scopes. And let's just add one of the sides. Just gonna be using the one that we currently had, so red dot 2. Okay, now in here, what we're going to do is actually check if the scope is valid, if there is a valid static mesh on it. Okay, so how to do that is basically we're going to be making one more, which is just en scopes of type scopes. My typing is awful today. We're gonna be quickly making a map, and if it says this, just compile it again. It fixes itself basically. So scopes and static mesh, and we're gonna be calling this the scopes map. Okay. Delete everything. Just gonna be setting up to be red dot is the one that we have, and none. Okay. So how to basically set this one up now. What we're going to do is actually take this scope, en scopes. We're basically going to be checking if this value is, equal enum to none. So basically if there's no scope, okay. If there's no scope attached, then we want to basically put these guys. And from here, you can basically do whatever you want, really. It really depends on what you want to do with this system. If you want to do different iron sights, then you would probably do it with the map structure like I did. But because, basically just do it like this. But because I'm not going to do that, because otherwise I have to set up the enums for all of that, what I'm going to do is just quickly set visibility. And I'm just going to be setting them to visible. So if there is no scope, make them visible. Okay? And after that, what you can do is, if there is a scope, meaning that it's not none, then we basically want to set them to be invisible, or set them to be null, basically. And after that, what you can do is just say scope. If it is not none, we basically want to set static mesh to be the scopes. Get the map. Once again, pretty easy. Find this item in our map. And if it is none, then we basically want to nullify it. So basically no mesh. And from there you can just say reroute. Just to keep it clean, you don't have to, but I like to do it. And there you go. So if I now go into the viewport, because our scope is set to none, we have our iron sights. If I now set it to red dot, as you can see, now it disappears. Now you have no iron sights, basically. You can play around with that, make it different to whatever you want, but this is pretty much the smartest way to do it. That way you will never get like a attachment set up when you don't want to. Okay? So I think that is pretty much it. There's a lot more you can do with this. You can, for example, change the skin of it with the enum as well. So different camos. You can set it up to where everything is an actor, and you basically find actors and attach them that way. If you guys want to see that, I can do that. I can make a tutorial for that. But this was just a quick suggestion from a friend of mine to just basically show how to do it. And yeah, I'm still around. I don't really have a lot of time for YouTube, unfortunately. I'm trying my best. I am still working on the FPS project, the procedural one, that is. I'm still working on that, but I don't have a lot of time. I work as a full-time truck driver, so unfortunately I can't really do a lot of that, spend a lot of time on it, on like game development, as much as I wanted to. But I am definitely still here. I'm definitely still working on it, and instead of making tutorials on the FPS project, I will just release it as soon as it's done as a free project that you guys can just download whatever you want, like whenever you want. Okay, so just want to clarify that a little bit. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully this was a little bit helpful to whatever you guys are creating. And yeah. Oh, quickly. You can basically disable these, and that way they won't ever use these attachments. So you see the one on the right, if I disable it, it can't put an attachment on it. But yeah, okay. That was it. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.